Welcome, theater addicts. My name is Karen, and I will be reviewing Vancouver Guldasta, written and directed by Puneet Singh, and presented by the South Asian Canadian Histories Association and Diwali in BC, here at the Van City Culture Lab. This play is centered around a Punjabi family during the early 80s, at a time when the country of Punjab was in turmoil, hence creating a rippling effect over here and much unease within the Punjabi community in South Vancouver. So I'm kind of expecting this to be pretty intense. I think it'll be pretty emotional. I'm kind of hoping there might be some speckles of humor to kind of break it up a bit. But first and foremost, I think I'm hoping it will be educational and eye-opening. Trying to deal with, connections obviously to a homeland and home country where your culture and beliefs and everything else comes from, while you're trying to settle into another country and make it home, and while you're immersed amongst so many other cultures who are obviously tied up in their own beliefs and things that are going on. And even though this is based in the early 80s, I'm hoping that the relevance ties into today as well, because I think this is going to be ongoing in Canada. We always are a land of refugees, and we're always going to be accepting and welcoming people who are coming from a land where things are challenging. And I'm hoping that it's productions like this that will help us maybe understand a little bit better what those folks are going through, and how maybe we can be a little bit more empathetic, compassionate, and what we can do or how to see them through. Because again, I mentioned refugees, and I skipped the part that immersed within all of this is Vietnamese teen refugee. So I think that's where the multiple kinds of cultures and communities will not necessarily collide, but have impact upon one another. So I'm super intrigued to see how this presentation goes. It's not the first time it's run. It did run in 2017 and was really popular, so I'm happy to get the opportunity to see it now. Wow, that was quite the journey. Before I dive into that, at the beginning they did give a couple of warnings. There are graphic images shown and also a language warning. But they do also say that if you feel disturbed at any point, you can actually leave the theater, and upon collecting yourself, return if necessary. That didn't happen while I was there. So I think most people would be fine. But yeah, really powerful. What can I tell you? Okay, the setting is so fun. It really is. It's like a living room setting from the 80s. And they do a great job of really making you feel like you're in the living room of this family during the early 80s when all of this is going on. The dynamic between the characters, they feel like family, and you do really kind of feel like you're a fly on the wall, and it's amazing. And as I had hoped, there was some humor. It was really fun and playful at the beginning, which helped to give it that sense of family, and really kind of made you feel a part of the family and appreciate the characters. But then that went away and it got super intense. Again, very educational, very factual. It's a very historical type of representation of what went on. But, despite what went on, I think the message is really more of identity. So what happens when the country you identify with, or region in this case, or country, it's a mix, is in turmoil? How do you feel about that when you're living in another country? And how's your community? It's showing conflict within the community. It's showing conflict within the family as to how you respond to that. Another thing that they bring in to discuss is, when a country's in a time of war, communication breakdown is huge. And I know that still happens in today's day and age, whether it's media blackouts, or, you're not able to talk to people on the phone, or people are being maybe sequestered away, and you're unable to communicate with them. That feeling of helplessness and how people deal with that helplessness and conflict. They also talk about concepts like home versus freedom. And again, this is more so the varying family members who have an appreciation for their home now and the freedom that that gives them, but also their sense of home and belonging, but also that they had to leave because it didn't have freedom. And so rebuilding that sense of home, which is also very powerful. Some of the other concepts that they talked about that I found were powerful was the anger that so many, or not so many, but some of the characters felt, and how others didn't have that same sense of anger. They had more of a control. And part of it came from the fact that this wasn't the worst that they've seen. And that to me was really eye-opening and relevant because with so many people coming to Canada and some of the challenges that they face, so many of the challenges that they face, and so many of the challenges we as people of the community and Canadians put on these people because we don't understand where they're coming from and what they've seen. And I do feel like this gave just a little bit of an insight, but that little bit was just so amazing. And the interesting part was, as much as so much of this was based on, what was going on in the region of Punjab in the 80s, it was actually the Vietnamese character that I found was the most powerful, and probably the most graphic as far as truly understanding what people who come to this country have potentially gone through and what they've seen and how good so many of us Canadians have it. And again, I think you can almost tell that by those of us who portray anger are probably the ones who don't really have anything to be angry about. And it's those that have more control over that, and that, yeah, it's probably because they recognize that things could be way worse and it's just not worth getting angry over. And that was so amazing and enlightening. Action-packed, info-packed, emotional-packed, intense, 1 hour, and then it just kind of ends abruptly. He leaves it open-ended. There's so much left to the imagination. I wanted more. Luckily, there was a little more. There is a talk back after, and I found that was very fulfilling as well. Again, talkbacks will always vary, but this one was actually moderated by the writer and the director, so I think he did a really great job. So I really enjoyed the discussion, and that too was really enlightening, and it gave me the more that I needed. You don't leave there though feeling upset or dirty or angry. At least I didn't. Again, I think it just opens eyes, open minds, and hopefully everyone leaves there kind of being a better, more empathetic, compassionate, caring individual, and hopefully kind of understand more of what's going on in various communities in our backyard, across the country, across the world when we're watching the news. So I think everyone should go see this personally. That's about it. If you've seen the performance this year or last even, please do share your thoughts by putting them in the comments below. And also don't forget to subscribe to the Theatre Addicts YouTube channel, as well as check the website regularly for more reviews and other upcoming theatre. Thanks, folks.